Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be cracking open chapter 3
Okay.
of the Science of Pranayama to really get down to the nitty-gritty of what pranayama is all about.
Yeah,
Now, I know this book covers a lot of ground,
it does.
but we're focusing in on this chapter specifically
Yeah.
to get to the heart of the matter.
I think that's a great approach because
Yeah.
chapter 3 lays some crucial groundwork.
Yeah,
It doesn't just jump into techniques.
right.
It sets the stage by defining pranayama
Uh-huh.
according to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras.
Right, and that definition is pretty dense.
Yeah.
It says regulation of breath, or the control of prana, is the stoppage of inhalation and exhalation,
Right.
which follows after securing that steadiness of posture or seat.
Yeah,
There's a lot to unpack there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
One key point that might surprise some people
Okay.
is the emphasis on posture
Um,
before starting pranayama.
Right.
It highlights how interconnected everything is in yoga. You can't just jump into breath control
Oh, definitely not.
without a stable physical foundation.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, so we're talking about more than just deep breathing exercises here.
Yes.
There's this whole concept of prana.
Exactly.
That seems pretty central to this whole thing.
Yeah.
What exactly are we trying to control
Yeah, that's a great question.
when we talk about controlling prana?
That's where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
Chapter 3 explains that prana is this vital life force
Mhm.
that exists both within us and in the cosmos.
Mhm.
It's like the energy that animates everything.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Sure.
How can I visualize this idea of individual versus cosmic prana?
Okay, think of it this way.
Yeah.
A single tree in a forest is full of life, right?
Yeah.
But it's part of a much larger interconnected system.
Yeah.
That single tree is like our individual prana,
Okay.
while the entire forest represents the cosmic prana,
Okay.
the source from which it all stems.
So by controlling our breath,
Mm.
are we essentially trying to tap into
In a way, yes.
that larger cosmic source of prana?
By regulating the breath,
Okay.
we gain more control over our individual prana, which in turn allows us to harmonize in the cosmic prana.
Interesting.
Chapter 3 also beautifully illustrates how this connection between breath and prana influences the mind.
Okay.
It uses the analogy of a bird tied to a post.
I remember that analogy.
You do?
The mind is the bird constantly flitting about,
Yeah.
but always tethered to the post,
Yes.
which represents prana.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even though our thoughts might jump around like that bird,
Uh-huh.
they ultimately return to the breath,
Right.
to that source of prana.
Okay.
This emphasizes how pranayama can help us steady and focus the mind.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, chapter 3 also mentions other sources that discuss pranayama,
Yes, it does.
like the Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah.
Sri Sankaracharya,
Mhm.
and this Yogi Pusunda. They each seem to have their own
Yeah.
sort of take on it.
It's fascinating how chapter 3 brings in
Yeah.
these different perspectives.
Wow.
For instance, the Bhagavad Gita talks about offering prana in apana,
Okay.
hinting at a more advanced practice where you're harmonizing
Wow.
different energies within the body.
And then there's Sri Sankaracharya,
Yeah.
who connects pranayama
Okay.
to this profound meditative state of realizing I am Brahman,
Exactly.
which is like the ultimate reality of Hindu philosophy.
It is a big concept.
Yeah, and then you have Yogi Busunda,
Right.
who goes into this very detailed explanation
Oh, yeah.
of internal and external puraka,
Yes.
rachaka, and kumbhaka.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like he has his own
He does.
intricate system of pranayama.
You've got a whole system. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But for our deep dive today,
yes.
we're sticking with chapter 3's
Right.
core concepts.
Precisely.
Right.
And one of those core concepts is the emphasis on mastering posture
Right.
before delving into breath control.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 3 draws from the Bhagavad Gita's description of a comfortable and easy posture,
Right.
highlighting its importance.
It even mentions that pranayama can be practiced both sitting and walking,
It does.
although certain methods might yield faster results.
Yeah. That's a good reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to yoga.
Definitely not.
Right. You can adapt the practice to your own needs and capabilities.
But then chapter 3 gets into the different types of pranayama,
It does.
which is where things start to feel more practical.
Yeah, more hands-on.
Yeah.
It introduces the 3 main types.
Okay.
Rachaka, which is exhalation.
Uh-huh.
Puraka, meaning inhalation.
Okay.
And then there's kumhaka,
Yeah.
the retention of breath.
Hold on. The text claims that kumbhaka can actually increase lifespan?
It does.
Is that for real?
That's a pretty bold statement,
Yeah.
right? It even throws in a story about a yogi named Chang Dev.
Going for 1,400 years, thanks to his mastery of Kumhaka.
1,400 years!
I know.
That's hard to believe.
It's definitely a symbolic story,
Okay.
meant to emphasize the power of breath retention.
Right.
Whether or not it's literally true, it sparks curiosity and encourages us to explore the deeper potential of pranayama.
So you have these three main types of pranayama.
Right.
But then Chapter 3 adds another layer of complexity by saying that each type is regulated by space, time, and number.
It does.
That's where the practice starts to get more refined and specific.
Yeah, it's not just about breathing in and out.
Right.
It's about controlling those breaths in a very precise way.
Right.
Space refers to how much you're inhaling or exhaling, how deeply you're breathing.
And time is how long you're holding each breath right.
Exactly.
Like those really long, sustained exhales you sometimes see in yoga classes.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And number refers to how many repetitions you do of a specific pranayama technique.
Chapter 3 suggests working up to 80 pranayamas in a session.
Wow.
With multiple sessions throughout the day.
Okay, that's a lot of focused breathing.
It is.
But I guess that's where the real benefits start to kick in.
That's what Chapter 3 suggests.
Okay, so then this leads us to one of the most intriguing aspects of pranayama that's hinted at in the text. This idea of uniting prana with apana and moving this united force upward.
Yes.
This is where I need a little more clarification. What exactly are we uniting? Where is it supposed to go?
This is where we start to dive into the more esoteric, energetic aspects of pranayama. Apana is another type of prana, but its energy flows downward. Uniting prana and apana is about harmonizing these opposing forces within the body.
So it's not just about controlling the breath.
Right.
It's about balancing these internal energies for some greater purpose.
That's the idea. And moving this united force upward is connected to the concept of Kundalini awakening, which is a powerful energy that resides at the base of the spine.
Kundalini awakening.
Yeah.
Now that's a topic I want to explore further.
It's definitely one of the more fascinating and mysterious aspects of yoga. And we'll delve deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good to me. I'm already feeling like I need to take a few deep breaths and process everything we've covered so far.
I think that's a wise idea.
Yeah.
See you in part 2.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Hey. So before we dig deeper into Kundalini,
I
wanted to kind of like circle back to something from the last segment.
Sure.
We were talking about Kumbhaka and how Chapter 3 claims it can increase lifespan.
Yeah.
Even mentions the story of Chang Dev living for 1,400 years.
Right.
It's a cool story, but is there any scientific evidence?
That's a great question.
To support this idea?
And it highlights the importance of approaching these ancient texts with a critical mind.
Right.
While there isn't direct scientific evidence to support the idea of living for 1,400 years.
Right.
The story of Chang Dev can be interpreted symbolically.
So it's more about conveying a deeper meaning.
Exactly.
Rather than a literal truth.
Think about it. 1,400 years is an incredibly long time.
Right.
Far beyond a normal human lifespan.
Yeah.
It symbolizes the idea that mastering breath control can lead to a heightened state of vitality and longevity.
So it's not necessarily about adding years to our lives, but rather adding life to our years.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about optimizing our energy and maximizing our potential through the practice of pranayama.
That makes a lot more sense.
Now
let's talk about Kundalini awakening.
Okay.
Chapter 3 suggests that uniting prana and apana through pranayama can lead to this awakening.
Right.
And even hints at the possibility of developing occult powers.
It does.
Can you elaborate on what that really means?
Chapter 3 definitely walks a fine line between the practical and the mystical when it comes to Kundalini. It's described as this dormant energy coiled at the base of the spine, often depicted as a serpent.
Right.
The idea is that through advanced pranayama practices, you can awaken this energy and guide it upward through the central energy channel, the Sushumna Nadi.
And the text suggests that this process can unlock hidden potential within us, even alluding to occult powers.
Right.
What exactly are we talking about here?
The text is intentionally vague about specific powers. However, the real emphasis seems to be on the transformative power of Kundalini awakening rather than the pursuit of supernatural abilities.
So it's not about levitating or reading minds, but rather about a deeper inner transformation.
Precisely. Kundalini awakening is associated with expanded consciousness, heightened awareness, and a profound sense of connection to the divine.
So the potential benefits go far beyond
they
just gaining special powers.
Much deeper than that.
That's fascinating. But Chapter 3 doesn't really delve into the specifics of how to awaken Kundalini, does it?
It's more of a teaser, leaving the reader wanting more.
Right.
It does mention a fourth, more advanced type of pranayama that involves fixing prana in various chakras, which are energy centers along the spine. This is where we start to see the connection between pranayama kundalini and the subtle energy body.
So it's hinting at more advanced practices, but doesn't really go into detail.
Exactly.
Okay. But even without those specifics, Chapter 3 offers valuable insights.
It does.
Into how pranayama can be used to purify the nadis, which are the subtle energy channels that allow prana to flow throughout the body.
That's right.
We haven't talked much about nadis yet. Could you explain what they are?
Sure. Think of nadis as the energy highways of your subtle body. Just like our physical blood vessels carry blood, nadis carry prana. When these nadis are blocked or congested, the flow of prana is restricted, which can lead to imbalances in our physical, mental, and emotional well-being.
So it's like having a traffic jam.
That's a great analogy.
In our energy system.
And pranayama helps to clear those energy blockages and allows prana to flow freely again.
So Chapter 3 even mentions specific techniques.
It does.
For purifying the nadis, such as samanu and nirmanu.
Yes.
I remember those terms being mentioned earlier, but they weren't really explained.
Right.
Can you elaborate on what those techniques involve?
Samanu focuses on mental purification using bija mantras, which are seed sounds that vibrate at specific frequencies. It's like using sound to clear out the energetic debris in your nadi.
So you're using sound vibrations to create harmony within the energy body.
And then there's nirmanu, which involves physical cleansing techniques known as shat karmas. Chapter 3 briefly lists 6 of these practices. Dauti Basti, Neti Trataka Nauli, and Kapalabhati.
Wow, 6 different cleansing techniques.
I know, it's a lot.
That sounds intense. Could you give us a quick rundown of what each one involves?
Each shat karma targets a different area of the body to remove blockages and impurities. For example, Dauti involves cleansing the digestive tract, while Basti is a yogic enema, and Neti focuses on clearing the nasal passages.
So it's like a deep spring cleaning for the entire body.
Tritaka involves steady gazing, which helps to improve concentration and willpower. Noli is an abdominal churning technique that stimulates digestion and strengthens the core. And Kapalabhati, which we mentioned earlier, is a powerful breathing exercise that energizes the brain and clears the respiratory system.
It sounds like these shat karmas are powerful practices in themselves.
They are, and they play a crucial role in preparing the body and mind for more advanced pranayama techniques. Chapter 3 emphasizes that these purification practices are essential for activating the Sushumna Nadi and allowing the Kundalini energy to rise.
So these techniques aren't just about physical cleansing. They're about creating the right conditions for spiritual awakening.
That's the idea. They help to remove the obstacles that prevent prana from flowing freely and allow us to tap into our full potential.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, Chapter 3 also touches on various pranayama techniques.
It does.
Each with its own unique effect. We've already discussed the 3 main types. But it also mentions Surya Beta and Ujjayi. Can you explain what those are all about?
Surya Beta, which translates to sun piercing, involves inhaling through the right nostril and holding the breath while focusing on the solar energy. It's said to increase body heat and purify the brain.
So there's a deliberate connection being made between the right nostril and solar energy. Is there a reason for that?
In yogic thought, the right side of body is associated with the solar energy, which represents activity, heat, and outward expression. By inhaling through the right nostril, you're activating that solar energy within the body.
That's fascinating. And what about Ujjayi breath?
Ujjayi, or victorious breath, involves slightly constricting the throat while breathing, creating a gentle ocean-like sound.
I've definitely heard that sound in yoga classes before.
You have?
It's very calming and almost hypnotic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ujjayi is known for its calming and balancing effects. It helps to soothe the nervous system, reduce stress, and promote a sense of inner peace.
So different techniques for different purposes.
Right.
It's amazing how the breath can be used to manipulate energy and influence our state of being.
That's the beauty of pranayama.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 also mentions sitkari and sitali, which are cooling practices, suitable for hot weather. They involve inhaling through the mouth, either by curling the tongue for sitkari, or by positioning the teeth for sitali, both creating a hissing sound as you breathe in.
Hissing breaths. I've never tried those before.
Really?
It sounds intriguing.
They're definitely worth exploring, especially during the warmer months. They help to cool the body down, soothe inflammation, and promote relaxation.
So many techniques to explore.
There are.
But Chapter 3 also cautions.
It does.
About potential pitfalls. Right?
Yeah.
What are some things practitioners need to be aware of?
So one of the most important points Chapter 3 emphasizes is the importance of gradual practice and avoiding extremes. It specifically warns against overexertion, especially with kumhaka, as holding the breath for too long can be harmful.
So listen to your body.
Exactly.
And don't push yourself too hard.
It's also crucial to seek proper guidance, especially for more advanced techniques. Don't just try these things on your own without proper instruction from a qualified teacher.
So find a teacher who can guide you.
Yes.
And help you avoid potential pitfalls.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And Chapter 3 goes beyond just the physical aspects of pranayama. It also highlights the ethical considerations, reminding us that true progress comes not just from mastering techniques, but from cultivating virtuous qualities like kindness, honesty, and self-control.
So it's about aligning our actions with our practice.
Pranayama is most effective when practiced within a holistic framework that encompasses the body, mind, and spirit. It's about integrating those aspects of ourselves and living a life in accordance with yogic principles.
That's a great reminder. So we've explored the connection between prana and the mind.
We have.
The importance of purifying the nadis. And the potential benefits of various pranayama techniques. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'd like to touch on those occult powers mentioned in Chapter 3. It's such an intriguing concept.
It is. And while the text doesn't delve into specifics, it does suggest that these powers are a byproduct of spiritual advancement rather than the main goal.
So it's not about chasing superpowers, but rather focusing on the inner transformation that pranayama can bring.
Exactly. The real power of pranayama lies in its ability to purify the nadis, awaken the Kundalini energy, and ultimately lead us towards self-realization.
This has been incredibly insightful.
It has been.
But I think we've covered enough ground for now.
I agree.
Let's take a deep breath and come back for the final part of our deep dive. Where we can explore the implications of all this for our everyday lives.
I look forward to it. Until then, keep breathing.
Yeah. Welcome back to our deep dive into pranayama. We spent the last 2 segments really unpacking the core concepts of pranayama.
We have.
As presented in Chapter 3 of the Science of Pranayama.
It's a great chapter.
We've talked about prana not as Kundalini. And even those intriguing but somewhat vague references to occult powers.
Yeah, I think you're right to point out that Chapter 3 leaves us with a sense of wonder and wanting to know more.
Exactly. It's almost like the author's giving us a taste of the deeper mysteries of pranayama without fully revealing them. It's both exciting and a little frustrating at the same time.
I understand that feeling. But I think that's part of the beauty of these ancient teachings. They invite us to keep exploring, keep practicing, and keep deepening our understanding through direct experience.
That makes sense. But speaking of direct experience, I'm curious about how all of this translates to our everyday lives. How can we as listeners take these concepts from Chapter 3 and apply them to our own practice and our own lives?
That's a great question. And I think one of the key takeaways from Chapter 3 is the importance of awareness. It encourages us to become more conscious of our breath, how it influences our energy, our thoughts, and our emotions.
So it's not just about doing specific breathing exercises.
Right.
It's about cultivating a more mindful approach to breathing.
Precisely.
Throughout the day.
By simply paying attention to our breath, even for a few moments each day, we can start to connect with that vital life force, that prana that flows through us.
I like that. It's a simple practice that anyone can do.
Exactly.
Regardless of their experience level.
And as we become more aware of our breath, we can start to notice how different breathing patterns affect our state of being.
Right.
For example, when we're stressed or anxious, our breath tends to be shallow and rapid.
Yeah.
But when we're relaxed and focused, our breath naturally becomes deeper and slower.
That's so true. I've definitely noticed that in my own life.
And by consciously shifting our breathing patterns, we can influence our mental and emotional state.
Wow.
That's the power of pranayama. It gives us a tool to regulate our inner world.
So by practicing pranayama, we're not just improving our physical health.
Right.
We're also cultivating greater emotional resilience and mental clarity.
Absolutely. And Chapter 3 hints at the even deeper potential of pranayama, suggesting that it can lead to profound spiritual transformation, including the awakening of Kundalini energy.
We talked about Kundalini earlier.
We did.
But it still feels a bit mysterious to me. What can you tell us about this energy and its potential role in our spiritual development?
Kundalini is often described as this dormant energy that resides at the base of the spine, represented symbolically as a coiled serpent. Through specific practices, including advanced pranayama techniques, this energy can be awakened and guided upward through the central energy channel, the Sushumna Nadi.
And the text suggests that this awakening can lead to expanded consciousness.
That's right.
And even those mystical powers we were discussing earlier.
But I think it's important to remember that those powers are not the main goal. They might arise as a byproduct of spiritual awakening, but the real focus should be on the inner transformation that occurs as the Kundalini energy rises.
So it's more about cultivating inner peace, wisdom, and a deeper connection to the divine.
Exactly.
Rather than chasing supernatural abilities.
And while Chapter 3 doesn't delve into the specifics of Kundalini awakening, it does offer practical guidance on how to prepare the body and mind for such practices through the purification of the nadis.
Right. We discussed those purification techniques earlier.
We did.
The Samano and Nirmano practices. Those are essential for clearing the energy pathways and allowing prana to flow freely.
Precisely. And I think that's one of the most valuable takeaways from Chapter 3. The understanding that pranayama is not just a set of breathing exercises, but a holistic practice that involves purifying the body, calming the mind, and awakening the spirit.
It's about aligning our breath, our energy, and our consciousness.
Exactly. And as we continue to explore the deeper dimensions of pranayama, we might find ourselves tapping into those hidden potentials within ourselves, those occult powers that Chapter 3 alludes to. But even if we never experience those mystical abilities, the journey itself is transformative.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So what would you say is the most important piece of advice Chapter 3 offers to those who want to delve into the world of pranayama?
I think the most crucial piece of advice is to approach the practice with reverence, humility, and a willingness to learn. Pranayama is a powerful tool, and it should be treated with respect.
So find a qualified teacher. Start slowly, listen to your body. And don't get caught up in chasing mystical powers. The real magic lies in the journey itself, in the gradual unfolding of our own potential.
That's a beautiful summary. And I think that's a perfect note to end our deep dive on.
I agree. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this exploration of pranayama.
It's been a pleasure.
We encourage you to continue your own deep dive into this fascinating practice.
Absolutely.
Remember to approach it with awareness, intention, and a sense of wonder.
Those are great qualities to bring to the practice.
Until next time, keep breathing.
See you later.